What's up, everybody? Good to see y'all. 8:35 on the clock, coming in hot with a beautiful moon tonight. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope you had a great day. I certainly did. Very relaxing, and just did nothing in the morning, then visited the moms and hung out with her for a while, and then relaxed again, watching the moon kind of all throughout the afternoon, sitting on the porch. So I'm pretty mellow, but I want to come online whenever I get a chance this month, and tonight seemed appropriate. We got this 60% waxing gibbous moon tonight, and Saturn and Venus have already set, but I got some shots of Jupiter that we might be able to see. Want to hop in and say what's up to Plain Truth, Scarecrow Strawman, Easy E, Rainbows and Butterflies, Aisling 717, Arum Vorax. Great to see everybody. Play some tunes here and let everybody kind of shuffle in tonight. I'm going to do some zoomed in shots on the moon. I want to talk about some plasma stuff, some consciousness, some resonance and plasma. I was watching a few videos today. I saw Thunderbolts put out a new video, which is, I love the premise of, but I felt it was very confusing, actually, because it has these kind of these ways of describing things where it's like, it's not this, it's simply this. It's not that, it's simply that. And I'm trying to get away from using language like that because it kind of robs concepts of their gravity and their kind of their magic. If you just say, oh yeah, don't worry about that, that's just simply that. And what he's talking about, though, makes a lot of sense in terms of these kind of ether particles, but also, again, like, with all due respect to Michael Armstrong, who put out that video, who put together the presentation, there's just a lot of missing data, which is the kind of connectivity of each of these particles, of the ether particles, let's say, but also the fact that ether particles can also be the size of planets and the size of solar systems and galaxies, and so there's this fractal recursion of the shape of this, of the inherent structure of this toroidal field and this hypotrochoid, or this hourglass shape that appears in the middle along a Birkeland filament, and this exists at all scales, and that's how you have this connectivity. But I agree with the premise, and honestly, very few videos come out about Electric Universe, so not hating, not throwing no shade. Shasha Kile, what's happening? Welcome. Aram says, I'm going to throw this on a big screen and make dinner, or we lurking in the void, working in the void. Yeah, so I'm also going to pour myself a drink. Got some time tonight, so I'm going to take it slow. Trying not to just get all pumped up on lecturing tonight. Just going to be chill about it. But yeah, I want to talk about these connectivity systems and what I typically do. But again, yeah, let's get warmed up here. How about some mutual masses? And you drift away.
You're the queen of the night, and so will it
How's Mutual Masses? Wanted to hop in and say what's up to Fantasy Ecstasy. What's up, my bro? Z Proxy, how you doing? Noob Fixer, what's going on? And Esoteric Gold. Great to see everyone hop in. Just getting situated here tonight. Got this waxing gibbous 60% illuminated moon. We'll be able to see a little bit of Earthshine tonight. Big prominent features. Actually, let me pull up my little sketchy program. Talk about it. What we're looking at. So, Sea of Serenity, Sea of Tranquility, Sea of Fecundity, Fecunditatis, right here. Then you got Mare Crisium right there. You see these hexagons? You got Proclus right here, 120 degrees separating this radial arc. You got Cleomedes running off in a kind of sinuous wave form. You got Langrenus crater. Hard to see the edges, but pretty sure. Let's see, where's my atlas? Double check on this one. That is Mare Nectaris. Right over here, you can see it also pentagonal shape right here. What's important about these shapes, right, is trying to understand how we have a moon that was created, that was formed by impact, or was it a moon formed by electrical scarification? So when I say electric scarification, I mean another planet, maybe Mars, interacted with the moon at a certain period in our near-term history. You know, let's say 5,000-10,000 years, maybe even 2,000 years, right? And we got this arcing discharge, almost like a static charge between fingers and a doorknob, or a lightning bolt, if you can imagine. And then, because this is the way it works in the laboratory, I mean, because of the way electricity works, but you can test this in a laboratory. We've seen it with Electric Universe Eyes, Billy Yelverton, and many others. There's another cat on Thunderbolts that showed this, Jacob. So if you have this electric arc moving across the surface, creating bubbles, these bubbles will eventually meet and create these boundary layers. And these boundary layers are formed because of the tension, the surface tension between these two, and that's how you get spheres turning into simple platonics. Now that, to me, seems like a much more plausible explanation as to why the surface looks the way it does, as opposed to having random impacts hit the surface and create these larger regions. Copper Tropicals, what's happening? Much love to you. I'm just seeing you in there. OG. Esoteric says, I would love to see some close-ups tonight. I can fulfill that request. D-Stew, wonder if those C's were actually C's. So yeah, let me hide this sketching for a moment. So the Mare, or Maria, for plural, or Mare is C. So I think it's interesting. I mean, it definitely is very kind of romantic to imagine them as oceans or filled with water. Or were they seas of lava, right? Or magma. Both are really kind of, I don't want to say romantic in a silly way, but romantic in a thinking about the past and thinking about how amazing it could have been. Or rather, really deadly. But, yeah. So definitely a great thought experiment to imagine them as oceans or seas that have dried up. But then again, they could have just been these boils, like bubbles, kind of bursting, and then you'd have residual kind of a molten surface. So I wonder how deep they really go, right? There's an idea that they may have been completely excavated by impact. But if you have the electric universe theory or this arcing blast idea, potentially they're not very deep at all. They're quite shallow, but the surface, the regolith of the moon, the kind of whiter brighter region has been carved away from these mare. So I think that's also another interesting way of looking at it. For me, that seems a little more reasonable, simply because the way what you're looking at here, in order to have an object hit the moon so powerfully that it would excavate the size of this region right here, like Sea of Serenity, right? It'd have to like, first of all, asteroids don't really hit direct to the moon, right? Because there's a gravitational field, they kind of curve and arch around, so you'd have this meteorite or asteroid hitting the moon like that. And, you know, the diameter of this is upwards of, let me double check, Mare Serenitatis, let's see where that is. Why won't you let me select it? I don't know, it's not letting me select. But I want to say it's upwards of 500 kilometers across. Let's see, Mare Crisium is 600 by 500. So Mare Sea of Serenity is, let's say, 700, 800 kilometers across. So that's a massive, massive area to create an impact, and kind of like what really happens if something that large hits the moon, depending on its composition, its speed, all that. So that's an idea, which I'm not against, but I actually think when you consider that there was an arc moving across the surface, and it kind of hit this region, it created a bubble or a boil, almost like a blister. And then this blister expanded outwards because of the intense voltage at the center. And then as it expanded outwards, it met other blisters, and then they created a wall, a boundary layer, like the way bubbles do. And then when the discharge moved, it moved along, you know, known pathways that electric arcing would. It would follow a certain, depending on the surface density and surface charge, it would move kind of in a, you know, snaking pattern, a little bit like a river or tributary, or like a Lichtenberg figure, like the way you would imagine a lightning bolt to look. And so this, to me, maybe it boiled the surface, and then that's how you could have this expansion to create these very sharp diamonds, pentagons, hexagons. I think it's a very interesting line of thinking. It's not like for sure either way, but to me, like random impacts, hundreds of thousands of meteorites hitting the moon, and then creating this very sharp geometry seems less likely than electricity moving across the surface rather slowly and creating very quickly these sharp shapes, and then those shapes have stuck. That's a quick thought there. Want to hop in and say, I know a lot of people just jumping in here. Ryan, North Carolina, no drawn stick figures 69ing on the moon. Much love from the Nomad Camper. Hell yeah, I love that you've gone off and taken your road home. Esoteric Gold says, I do believe planets grow also from their Birkeland currents. The energy travels down the Earth's crust and creates lava, transmutating energy into matter. It's a great point. I think so too. I think the moon at some point was, where's my little thing? Yeah, the moon at one point must have been small. Right? Like, so it had to be tiny. Came from a point, and then it expanded outwards and expanded outwards. But as it expanded outwards, it has this layer of plasma, or layer of organized plasma that is created by its oscillation or resonance or expansion into the ether, space around it. And then you have the push of space around it on the moon. And this is what really creates every point in the universe, from the quantum particle to the atom, up until the largest system we can imagine, all operates the same way. And because because everything operates the same way at different scales, that's why you get these very complex looking patterns. These things that look like folded space and wormholes and stretched space and fabric of time and space. But really, this is much closer to the idea of Ed Witten's M theory in quantum mechanics, where you have these thin membranes that kind of react with one another with one another and create these interference patterns at these points. And this is how humans interact. This is how planets interact. To me, this is a fundamental understanding of things rather than ad hoc understanding of things. And then furthermore, you have planets and stars growing along filamentary routes. That also makes sense the same way plants do. So at some point, the moon was grown, and Earth grew from a point. I know it sounds radical, but it has to be that way. You know, that makes sense to me. Debbie Carson, what's happening? Great to see you. I'm trying to get through all the comments here real quick. Let's see. Copper says, interesting. Can you see the comet at all? So I didn't set up tonight for the comet, but like I said, I'm going to try and get us a stream with that. So you'll see it immediately with the thumbnail. I'll be like, comet stream, y'all. Right now, the staircase makes it really difficult to pan to where the comet is. So I will try and kind of set up in a different location, but looking west and north for me is almost impossible using this setup. Ellie Wynn, great to see you. Good evening. Happy Saturday. Esoteric says, that's why the ancients considered Saturn to be our ancient sun. So there are stories about, Saturn being the early son of Earth, or the sun for Earth. And if you can imagine, let's say Saturn was a smaller planet, and it had a giant outer sheath of plasma, and that's where that was still actually quite dense, and so Mars and Earth resided within the sheath of Saturn, and therefore had the red dawn or the purple dawn, and were basked in the glow of an early Saturnian sun. Is one of the stories. I think it's actually also very romantic. It's very possible scientifically, but we don't know that 100% sure. There are other ideas that Uranus or Uranus, the planet, could have also potentially been our old sun, and also how we got our current sun is also kind of up for debate. But there are a lot of great stories about it, great ideas. Nothing really is off the table necessarily, as long as you kind of maintain these connectivity rules. Noob Fixer says, I'm content not knowing nothing about nothing. I just see boobies. Hey, everybody's got their thing, Esoteric Gold, they now have satellites that can see Birkeland currents that feed the sun its energy, transmutating the energy into matter and birthing gas giants. Emmanuel Velikovsky. Yeah, just read Esoteric's comments, y'all. He's making perfect sense. That's why the ancients consider... Yeah, I missed that part. Velikovsky wrote about it, but also we see these filaments connecting stars and planets. It's not like they're invisible. So sometimes they're in dark mode, sometimes they're light in glow mode. And this is the same with lightning bolts, right? We see lightning is already connected to Earth, but when you see a lightning bolt on Earth, it is in glow mode, not in dark mode. I know it's very simplistic, but that's sort of the understanding of it, right? So you have plasma connecting the universe via these big and small formations, bubbles, let's say, pinpoints and giant points that act the same. They resonate in plasma, creating along these field lines, and create layers and layers and layers of plasma around these oscillators, and these layers of plasma interact. And the oscillators observe and are conscious of these layers, and they grow more layers. And in a way, transmutating elements really is the oscillator working with the ether to create a new layer of plasma that actually has knotted fractal plasma that are memories or conscious packets or fractals, you would say. Ryan, North Carolina says, crazy rain here tonight, mostly past now. We've been needing it badly. Well, that's great to hear. It's always good when the weather kind of coalesces. Eliwin, grown-ass planets growing. Oh yeah. Ryan says, through my learning, I think Saturn was our first and best sun in Golden Age, the Purple Dawn. Yeah, like I was saying, it's definitely up on my list in terms of we do have Saturn. Saturn's there. The idea that we might have been children of Saturn, Earth, and Mars, being these kind of sister planets within the sheath of a brown dwarf Saturn, with a purple dawn and awash in this kind of glowing energy that would give mankind not necessarily superpowers, but a type of new life that that has evolved to what we have today, but a different kind of existence under this kind of light and nitrogen levels. Who knows what the gravity was like? It's really fascinating to imagine early universe from the vantage point that things grow and that you have interconnectivity through it all. So talking more about filaments in a little bit, Coppertrop says, so where are the dendrites? I think that's what they're called, like at the Grand Canyon. So a really good dendrite or Lichtenberg figure or snaking canal is the one we see in Aristarchus, Schroeder's Valley, that kind of snaking gully, which we'll see when at the end of after the full moon and onwards, where Aristarchus is visible. If we want to look at a small one, we can zoom right now to Mare Crisium at the top, and you'll see a little snaking, so-called sinuous rill, R-I-L-L-E. And if you research what sinuous rills are, the common understanding of them, or the common supposition, is that they are volcanic lava tubes. So volcanoes drip, and after a long while, this lava kind of snakes out and follows a path and hardens and creates like a tube-like structure. So let's zoom in here on Mare Crisium and take a look, and we'll talk about it and see why or why not, why that makes sense or why it doesn't make sense. Alright, so I'm zoomed in here, but I still got the focal reducer on, so it's not like the closest zoom just yet. But I think maybe I'll keep it here for a moment while we tour the surface. I'm zoomed in on Mare Crisium, and you can see Pierce and Picard, the two kind of small craterlets, and right in the middle, or to the top left middle of the screen, that is Proclus. So let's sketch around this for a second, because I think it's really interesting. I'm not seeing the snaking canal that I saw the other night, simply because the moon's phase is a little bit different. It's kind of hidden by the light. I want to say what's up to Renegade, what's happening, and Mary, great to see you. Good evening. And Reginald Roberts, what's good? Welcome, welcome, everybody. Awesome to ride with my space fam yet again. 9:02 p.m. coming at you. Okay, so I'm really hyped on plasma physics, obviously. So I'm just always going to talk about it, I think, forever. Just pulling up my paint thing. Ooh, that's a caffeine molecule, huh? We'll look at that as well. But just quickly, Proclus, right? These kind of very bright rays coming out of it are so particular. In and of itself, it's a small hexagonal shape. And then you got Mare Crisium right here, very clear angle on the hexagon. But what's going on here that's so interesting is what's invisible is this kind of Birkeland filament. Really, the reason you have this kind of symmetry of hexagons is because of the magnetic field lines, or the dielectric magnetic field structure. So you have the symmetrical hexagons, and it's the same as the reason humans have eyes where they are, animals have eyes, because we are grown similarly along filaments. And this right here is where matter, I imagine, gathers the impingement of the ether upon matter, creates this, is along this dielectric inertial plane. And so you have this structure emerge which embodies all these different shapes. You have the hourglass right here, the hypotrochoid, and this is really just a pinched tube. It's being pinched right here at the very center, and this center is one, an oscillator, a point that oscillates in space, and two, it's also interferent when two patterns, when you have interference patterns like a wave, like a curve and a curve, and then you have an overlapping. So right here, you have an interference point. These points themselves become oscillators, and they themselves start to have this toroidal shape, and then they start pinching with and oscillating in the ether, creating even more of the geometry. And that's how you have this kind of recursive small and large overlapping shapes. So I'm going to erase some of this stuff. You can look at it some more. There's a snaking canyon right here. It's a little bit hard to see. But really, what is snaking anyway? Snaking is just the visual along time of a line, right? And then what does a line do? It goes left, right, left, right. This is what a sine wave or just a wave formation really is. You just need a segment of it. So there's a force vector that we think is movement, but essentially it's a point from one wave to the next wave to the next layer, and it just moves through different layers and different densities. So every layer has a different density, and therefore you have a point that meets this density and says, okay, this is the fastest way forward, and then this is the fastest way forward, and this is the fastest way forward, and this is the fastest way forward. And this is why you have snaking, or waving, so to speak, is because you have neutrinos or photons or life ether particles interacting with the ether in certain ways, and there's permissivity and permittivity. And where it goes through more easily, that this kind of path of least resistance concept, this is a little bit of what it is to me. Why we have snaking at all. Let me hide all that. I'm just trying to read some comments here. I don't know if I want to talk about that. Copper Trops. Let's see. Eliwan says, I listened to the video by Meredith and it was very good. I want to listen to it again. I have that queued up. I did not get a chance to listen to it, but I shall for sure. What else we got? The Hertz donut, exactly. Esoteric Gold says, the serpent people, those who understood the energy currents of the earth, like the pyramid builders. So, yeah, I feel like there's this idea of the fact that, you know, a certain subset of people knew something that we didn't. But I feel like it's implied in these documentaries that somehow we cannot grasp what the ancients understood, right? Not that we know or we don't know. It's just that the ancients somehow had a capacity. It's funny that we say capacity to hold this type of information or to understand the universe more fundamentally. But I feel that we have that same capacity today, maybe even more so, because now we can really put this reality into words. Granted, I struggle constantly to layer all the language that I'm talking about because there are so many different ways of coming at this and talking about these different things, as well as when trying to convey complex ideas, people want to hear that you know both sides of things or every side of things pretty much in order to kind of have to be able to validly criticize any theory. I feel like you have to know a little bit about what is proposed in order to argue against it. Jedi Princess, good evening. Great to see you. Welcome. Let's see. Yeah, let's play some tunes here and scout across the moon's surface. I'll talk a little bit shortly. What haven't I played in a while? Buzzer. It's an old jam. Track was called Full of Life. Whoops, this microphone don't want to stay. Yeah, so that's one of those works in progresses, but I saw it in the list. I wanted to play it for y'all. So I got the wide shot up right here and tuned into the Jovian system for a moment, so we can take a look at the moons, the beautiful alignment tonight of our Galilean moons. Of course, Jupiter has many, many more moons than 4, but we can see these. And it's about to set, so there's a ton of aberration and kind of glowing going on, but just get a quick shot tonight. Like what we had from the top, right? It was Ganymede, Io, Ganymede at the top, Io right after that, then Europa and Callisto at the bottom, competing with my HUD. I want to say what's up to Benjamin. What's going on? Says, love your music. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Rockstar, nice to see you. What's up tonight? Tonight we got a gorgeous moon. I'm hyped up to talk about plasma cosmology and consciousness and the works. Got tunes, you know, that old space show, that Stella space show. Also my creaky ass chair. How old is this reggae-like song? I think it's from last year, actually. It's kind of a new one, but I don't know. I really, really love reggae, and it's one of those things that if you get the right sounds, you can just do something really simple and then chant over it. So that song is a little bit of my chanty type song. Great to see all the old folks in here. The old fam in here, not old folks, old fam. Yeah. So what else do we have with Jupiter? So what I sketched, real quick, trying to keep everything front of mind while also relaxing with y'all is always tricky. I realized yesterday I was so sloppy with what I was saying. I said something like Saturn was dense and therefore it was resonating slowly. But in fact, density, like hardness, comes from resonating extremely quickly, very high frequency. That's why you can't put your finger through a fan when it's rotating really, really fast. So the RPM of something, the frequency of resonance in plasma, is what creates density. And as things radiate outwards, the rate slows down, and therefore it's more diffuse, and you can go through it. Permittivity based on resonance. All right. I want to correct myself because I know I said something weird. Check it out. You see some Jupiter going behind the tree line, but creating some really cool symmetrical triangle shapes in the shadows. So what did I have here? I had this structure, right? Got the Birkeland filament. Of course, it's much more complex than this, right? It goes out kind of snaking outwards into space. But Jupiter has a dielectric inertial plane. This is where an eyeball would be formed if you're looking at a face, and this is the nose and the mouth, right? So Jupiter is another system that looks like an organic life form. These are the Fibonacci spirals emanating outwards. That's what the inverted tetrahedrons are. It's also the shape of the hourglass, a hypotrochoid. Right? It also has counter-rotating currents, which is why Jupiter has counter-rotating bands or different types of fluid dynamics between its layers because of the counter-rotation. Donald Scott. And then why do you have these orbital fields where the moons reside? Right? Because they're being impinged upon by space around Jupiter. Everything's being pushed to this dielectric inertial plane, right? So you got the hypotrochoid, you got the torus, you got the donut, you got infinity, you got butterfly shape, the eye sockets, you have nested hexagons, right? I love the way I just keep sketching on top of this, making it more and more complex, but yeah, you have the shape of an arachnid right here. So for me, just the reason I find that I need to do this and why science videos bother me is because this is so apparently how things are, and you can derive a ton of information by just overlaying this image and just moving through the math that way, versus visualizing this imaginary math and a separate magnetic field and an unconscious planet and a gravity-only orbital mechanic. And on and on. And, the idea of a gas giant and hollow planets. So when you talk about popular science, when it comes to what NASA talks about with Jupiter and its moons, to me it sounds just like they don't know what they're talking about, or they purposely obfuscate tons and tons of detailed facts about Jupiter, orbital mechanics, density, frequency modulation, Jupiter's consciousness, Jupiter's layers, why things form the way they do, the counter-rotation of rings, why you have nested hexagonal vortices at both poles, and on and on and on. You can answer almost immediately. Well, it will take a long time, but a couple of hours maybe to answer all the things. But if you look at all these big questions about Jupiter, scientists baffled, astronomers baffled, didn't expect to see that, no, had no idea, I have to go back to the drawing board, baffled, right? They made fun of it ad nauseum on the Thunderbolts Project channel, to my I'm ever amused by it, but I will say that it's insane almost that this is not completely the way they talk about it. Like, why don't science presentations at NASA have this video, not my video necessarily, but just any video of Jupiter, and superimposing the exact correct magnetic fields from the Chandra X-ray Observatory, and then having like a plasma physicist, who there are plasma physicists, talking about, you know, etheric plasma reacting with Jupiter and how that actually affects all these things. I'm just you know, just riffing here, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, there's so many aspects of this that are either uncoverable, discoverable, answerable, and or extrapolated from fundamentally just thinking about this from a slightly different perspective than we do now. What's happening? Rastaman lives. How you doing? And Genghis Khan, I see you. Late to the shindig. A round of drinks for the TBS tribe. Oh, hells yeah. I'm going to go get myself a drink, speaking of which. I'm going to let Jupiter sit here for a little bit. It's about to set. But think about what I'm talking about. Like, why are the moons along these orbital lines, right? And why does Jupiter have counter-rotating bands? And why do the poles of Saturn, Jupiter, and almost most planets actually look hexagonal? You know, besides just pressure mediation and you know, pressure. I'm not saying pressure doesn't exist. I'm saying it's not just the only answer for things, you know. And describing vortexial flow and laminar flow and fluid dynamics and saying, I understand fluid dynamics, doesn't answer why there is fluid, why things swirl. Things swirl because from an oscillator, like I showed earlier, I'll tell you why things swirl, like Coriolis effect, why your pee, when you're peeing, you'll see the pee swirl, like spiral. Because there's a coaxial filament extending from there, and that's how we are connected to things. So the water emanating from our body actually spirals out of our body onto the ground, or onto the ground, into a toilet. I pee on the ground. Let's... Yeah, but I'll show you where the spiral is. The spiral, all right, you got the poles, you got the hypotrochoid. And what the hypotrochoid really is that it's a tube, and it's pinched because of the density and the oscillation. And the pinch is relative to the, how much it's pinched is relative to its frequency intensity. So, right, so because of that shape, and because of these fields, you have these spirals. So if I want to go a little deeper even, I would say that hydrogen emanates outwards, and as it goes along this spiral and expands outwards, this is how it actually turns into all the other elements of the periodic table. So the original form gets more and more complex as it expands or resonates through a spiral. If you look at the spiral from the top, it looks like that. Actually, I would imagine it actually looks like this, like a Fibonacci spiral. At the very bottom right here, that's this oscillator. And so, and it's doing that because there's a spiraling Birkeland filament creating these counter-rotating currents, which actually is the movement of life. All right, I know that's a grand concept to some degree, but it makes so much more sense than scientists baffled. I mean, like, seriously, if scientists have no idea, then like, let's entertain a new idea. And I'm just, you know, I'm taking other ideas from Thunderbolts, from Eileen McCusick, from Rupert Sheldrake, from Pierre-Marie Robitaille, from Ken Wheeler. I've just watched their videos incessantly, and then if you put 2 and 2 or 4 and 4 or 8 and 8 together, and then you look at the Andrew Hall stuff, you look at the Sapphire Project, you look up some history, and then you look at actual observational science, it doesn't take a genius. Doesn't take a genius to figure it out, but you have to be open to the idea that the paradigm could be, you know, our system could be wrong. And I don't know why people are so fundamentally tied to it. Like, they're ready to make fun of one another instead of entertaining a new idea, which is just crazy to me. It's the prism dagger, exactly. I was gonna play those couple of songs, so give me a break here. I need a break for a second to get a drink. Here we go. I left home. Alright, those are a few of the old tracks. There's Catch, Golden, and then Prison Dagger. Thanks so much for all the kind comments, everybody, about the tunes. Those are some of my favorites as well. Total vibe. We got a beautiful moon with us, and I got rid of the focal reducer, zoomed in. We definitely have a little bit of chromatic aberration and also some turbulence, but it's pretty great. I'm going to find out the name of this crater right here, completely spaced on it, but look how cool and sharp this diamond is. Blue Diamond Phillips right here. And look, I got iced coffee, like good iced coffee. Damn. I was prepared tonight. I'll get back to the tunes. I don't want to talk too much right now because I feel like we're in a vibe, but I definitely want to just see if anybody else joined and if I missed anything. No, just nice comments. Love it. Alright, let's pull up some tracks, but some new tracks. Let's do Dark Rums and Perplex and Stretch Ghosts, because I don't know, love the new stuff. I'll figure out the name of what this crater is.
Can you feel like the wave? I can feel like the waves. I can feel. inseparable like motion and desire. All our scars have really faded, don't be tired. Just believe the soul is traveling. Just believe the soul is traveling. Past the pawns on the electric solar sphere. My descriptions of your life was near, and then you were gone. I was reflected lines, and we were erased from time. No wheel as sweet as I. No way, just a leave. No way, soul endless, traveling. No way, traveling. Just believe the soul is traveling. Picked up another cause, got mountains across my hair. I know it just plays a part. We know it's supposed to end. We sleep with the name we call, send in the mother tree. Got to believe it when I say that we've been here again. Got to believe it when I say that we've been here again. Oh, the midnight moon, maybe right. Oh, with the midnight moon, maybe right. Oh, set the midnight moon, set light. Oh, that's the midnight moon, maybe right. But you're right. Of the midnight moon, such a riders of the midnight moon. So you know you're inside, cleaning up every day, till holding up your carcass, singing inside feels like the ocean. Feel it on the inside, breaking down every year, fading on the freeway. It's alright, 'cause now you're here, and so unfolds, and all your space appears. It's alright to show you through, but don't admit that's all you got to give. Oh, it's alright, 'cause now you're here. The sky is uneven, your heart is for needing, feeling this way, holding it down like a ferocious mistake. Now it's worse, harder more than we should. Can't be hard awake so.
Gonna keep going here with some more jammy kind of tunes, more guitar stuff, but just want to talk quickly. Zoomed in over here at the Apennine mountain range at the mouth of Mare Imbrium, and it looks just absolutely incredible. So many cool features. Got Archimedes, you got Autolycus and Aristillus and Cassini craters. These big ones right in the dead smack center of your screen. All these striations coming around. You've got the Apennine mountain range looking amazing, dragon spine like. It's like looking at an Oblivion map. Any of y'all played that? But just wanted to talk about how mountain ranges, essentially, the way I see them is that where you have the peak of the mountain range, the matter, dust and rock and etc. is being pulled towards the densest part, the high frequency point of the Birkeland filament. And so peaks are kind of forced upwards or pulled upwards towards high voltage. And as the voltage diffuses, so does the altitude. It's a little bit like what Andrew Hall talks about. I mean, it's exactly what Andrew Hall talks about, but in this specific sense, you can imagine that with this mountain range that we can view from overhead, which is just incredible. We can't really do that right now. I mean, we can using tools, but this is the real deal. Can't fly outside Earth right now and check it out for ourselves. But I'll get this adjusted. Yeah, right here would be the plasma filament, right? The coaxial, and pulling in and upwards matter and rubble and rock and dust. And that's how you get mountain ranges. And that's how they diffuse downwards, and that's why you have this very striking geometry that is revealed. And at the very top, it almost mirrors this Birkeland filament. I mean, I would imagine it exactly mirrors the Birkeland filament. And then once the once the Birkeland filament dies down, goes into dark mode, or gets disconnected from the surface of this oscillator, then there's residual, and the residual is this mountain range. I mean, yes, oversimplification, but this is how I see it. All these craters as well. Again, quick one, I think this is Archimedes. Kind of has the tail, it almost mirrors like a cometary tail. You got Aristillus and Autolycus, and Cassini with its two little craterlets. And then here's Mare Frigoris, and what is this one? That's Valles Alpus. Yeah. Coming in here, this is Plato and Sinus Iridum, and this is all Mare Imbrium. So yeah, beautiful region underneath the Terminator line. You see lots of formations here, these kind of snaking, layered regolith right there, right here, right here, right here. And all throughout, you see this kind of remnant scarring. So I'd imagine you'd have these as blisters popping out of the ground. And what's interesting is that I'm noticing that when you have things side by side, they get a little, when they're closer, they get much sharper hexagonal edges, and when they're further away, I'd imagine like bubbles expanding, that these are a bit smoother, even though you do see the hexagonal shape right there. If you really zoom in and follow it, it's there. Because there are no real smooth circles in nature. Makes much more sense that things have boundary layers between each other and everything is connected at every scale. Alright, let's keep going with some of that old stuff. This is Fine Shore Ways.
sulfur, so fire. Set the feeling, it's go fire, go fire.
Take down my back.
up to be. I hold you up to the light you reach till you need a hole like me. So I fall and bridge. You thought we hit the ground. So I fall and bridge. Before you hit the
That song is honest. I need a break. Just want to say what's up to Hot Rod Scott. Welcome to the channel. Good to see you. I'm glad you made it to see the show. I guess you do some astronomy yourself. Let me know what kind of scope setup you got. Maybe I'll try and check out your channel after the show. Want to hop in here. I realized I've just been playing tons of tunes and just letting the moon do the work. But yeah, it's been glorious tonight. Wonderful 60, I think it's 60% waxing gibbous moon right now. The Terminator cutting across all great crater chains. You saw how many hexagons and side by side hexagon pentagon formations, center peaks, small craters on the rims of larger craters, isolated pentagons and hexagons, waveforms, sinuous waves, and then cuts at the very top. You see Valles Alpes, cutting through the mountain like a carved channel, 300 kilometers down with a nested channel. And that's a particular feature that Wal Thornhill has talked about. And for me, it's like, how was that really formed? What cut, like laser cut through a mountain range? Right? Then you got Proclus at the bottom above Mare Crisium, super bright, that kind of astrid, 120 degree astrid star shape, radiating pretty harsh, and I mean beautifully, but so much harsher than the rest of the surroundings, these kind of glistening white spots. You try and understand why that's occurring, whether it's glinting or whether it's surface electricity kind of exciting those particles of gas on the surface and making it even brighter at those hot spots. So hot spot oscillation. Yeah, just so many great things to look at tonight. And then inverted, you kind of get a whole sense of this microscopic world in a way. I feel like when you look at things inverted, you could easily be looking through an electron microscope. Excuse me. So yeah, 61%. Wee. All right, some more tunes here. Keep going for a little bit longer, at least another 30 minutes or so. Been trying to play stuff to surprise y'all. That last one was new, and let's do a couple in a row here. This is Mistia, and then Willpower coming up as well.
Did you hear that I missed you? Now you're here, let me kiss you. Did you hear that I missed you? Now you're here, let me test you. Did you hear that I missed you? Now you're here, let me test you. Did you hear that I missed you? Now you're here. Did you hear that I missed you? Now you're here, let me test you. Let me test you. Underneath the stars, counting numbers. Fly above the moon, feel you new. Into the dark beyond, saw your umbra. Across the nature's arm, so electric blue. Underneath the stars, did you hear that I missed you? Fly above the moon. Now you're here, let me kiss you. Did you hear that I missed you? Now you're here, let me kiss you. Nature's arm. Did you hear that I missed you? Underneath the stars. Take time to believe in the world, fill it up with everything you can for. Take time to believe in the world, fill it up with everyone you love. Take time to believe in the world, fill it up with everyone you care for. Take time to believe in the world, fill it up with everyone you love. Underneath the stars, did you hear that I missed you? Fly above the moon. Now you're here, let me kiss you. Did you hear that I missed you? Beyond. Now you're here, let me kiss you. Nature's arm. Did you hear that I missed you? Underneath the stars. Do you know why I've been beaten from the heart? I know, no lie. I've been thinking about you all night. Why? No why. I've been waiting for your white light. No why. I've been thinking that you should be mine. So call me up, and let's get down. So call me up, and let's get down. work. And you send me pictures from across the astral plane. And you send me cryptic kisses across the matching network. So call me up, 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 and let's get down, 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 down. So call me up, 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 and let's get down, 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 down. Somebody, je t'attends, mon amour, reste tu es assis dans mon canapé cinéma, achetant la éternelle avec en son billet. Je suis la même que ton avant et chaque jour. Je t'attends, mon amour, avec les mecs sans agrévé. Et c'est mon âme magnétique, c'est l'amour magnétique, c'est mon amour magnifique. Cool running, no running, you wouldn't, 'cause what is rooted, whatever it takes, please. And I've been dreaming from the heart, no lie, been beaten from the heart eyes. No why, no why, no why. So call me up, 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 and let's get down, 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 down. So call me up, 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 and let's get down, 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 down. I will you so finely to delegate my body. Everyone is separated. Don't know about it. Don't give us some love. Heavy metal outside. Just seem like will cut the crime. And I gotta make it through this doorway. Gonna be a star this time. Going up, are you ready? Going up, are you ready? Blowing up, are you ready? And then I'm falling to the light, and I'm falling to the light of your love. And everybody's gonna say the words are lying. Trying the colors of your violet burn bright. Through the chorus I am shining. Oh, the sky was wide with one name. Need a ride, need a ride, need a ride. Sit blind, you feel. Turn along, you bend. I'll see the light into love. Just another breeze. Doesn't seem like luck not to the crime. And we couldn't bullet for you. Like lots of love, so
that they're waiting. Oh yeah. Can't wait to do some live music for y'all in the next, maybe like 3-4 days from now, probably next week. Set up the 11 and Logic. Want to hop in here and say what's up to Vicky. Great to see you. I'm glad you're chilling. Cheers to you. I just refilled my coffee, so cheers. And happy anniversary to you and your other half. I'm glad you're just celebrating that under the moonlight tonight. Damn, 21 years. Nice. Exactly. Incredible. Very happy for you. And thanks for all the kind comments, everybody. Really appreciate it. Lumberjack, what's going on? Good to see you. And yeah, if I missed you, let me know. I see, Andy Cowley, there we are. And that's it. That's all I see. All right, let's keep going with the tunes here. So yeah, I'm still going strong. And the moon looks amazing. There's so many different features. I was zoomed in to Mare Marginis and Mare Undarum, that area underneath Mare Crisium, kind of scrolling up the side, kind of got rid of all the color and went black and white there for a second, like those astrocams. Stream the moon like one of your French astrocams. Let's see. So yeah, let's get going with some tunes here, and I'll check for Orion, Jedi Princess. We'll see. Orion should be risen already, but we'll see if it's too far east for me. There's still a door in the way. Those were a whole series of tunes that just like, they were just flowing. I was vibing with you, Jin, and everyone else. Let me see if I can continue that flow here. Let's get Sun 5, Moon 8 going. just hopping in here. Yeah, let's talk about the shadows. They do look a little bit strange, but it's more so because the sunlight is coming from underneath at this point, and as I've been streaming, the moon's kind of been moving across an ecliptic, and so it's been rotating, at least toward that. It seems that it's rotating clockwise, and then also kind of moving across the ecliptic plane. So it went from kind of these diagonal shadows a little bit earlier that we were looking at to now almost nearly vertical shadows. This is the Apennine mountain range that we're looking at, and I kind of busted up the settings so we could see all the nice detail in it. It looks pretty incredible, I gotta say. It's one of the better nights. Got some wobbliness. Like I said, my scope is on the staircase, so it's wobbly as heck, but got Rupus recta right there, the kind of amazing Sinuous rill example. I can zoom in a bit more here, we can take a look. But so many diamonds, so many X's. Just pulling up my my paint program right here. Okay, so this is Rupus recta, and you see this kind of amazing formation that if you look up the popular explanation for these types of sinuous rills, you basically get lava tubes. That's really the one, like volcanic lava. But let's look closer here and see whether or not it makes sense. Like, it could be, right? It could be a lava tube. So maybe this is a volcano and it kind of drips all this way and it goes this way, goes this way, goes this way. Okay, could be lava tube. At the same time, could be lava tube. Is that even English? I just throw away words sometimes. But it makes a lot more sense, and it has that kind of snaking. Well, first of all, how long is this? This is like about 150 kilometers across. And you've got this interesting thing where right above the center, this tiny craterlet, it kind of crosses over it. So it's almost like if you could imagine that you had an electric arc moving across the surface. Gosh, every time I want to draw it, kind of drifts away from me. I'm working on it. Come on, telescope. Work with me, baby. So there are a couple of things going on. I mean, I'm not trying to say I know exactly what's happening, but I'm trying to understand the lunar geology from a vantage point that makes sense in terms of physics, not in terms of speculation. So it may seem like I'm not doing this right, but it just doesn't want to cooperate. Every time I get it centered, it drifts off. All right. So, yeah, it's not really letting me do it, but I imagine that if you had an electric bolt moving across the surface like that, interacting with some sort of planetary, like a comet or Mars or Earth, and you got these sparks, these residual electric discharge machining kind of arcing sparks that raise the surface and create these sinuous rills on and on throughout the surface in different ways. Let me zoom out one level here just so that it doesn't completely drift, but you can see these all throughout the landscape, these kind of little snaking valleys, looking like Lichtenberg patterns, looking like rivers and tributaries. It's amazing to be able to see the moon from this, or like a landmass from this vantage point, because it's like having this outer vision of Earth. You can almost understand what Earth might look like if you were in a spaceship looking back at it. Tons of diamonds, tons of hexagons, tons of central peaks, small craters on the rims of larger craters, side-by-side craters. This is looking a little blown out, so let me go adjust the viz. But put a song here real quick. We'll go back in the catalog, see if we can't play some older stuff. C'est quoi ça? Oh man, have I been quiet this whole time? Jeez. Did it just go out? Let me know. Same shit every time. I feel like this button goes off on the wrong way. So let me just repeat that regardless. NGC, what's going on? Sonic Jet, Lumberjack, and Hot Rod, and Vicky, and everybody joining. I hopped on to say what's up, and I left the mic muted like an idiot. Vicky, you have a wonderful night. Have a great rest of your anniversary. Awesome. Yeah, that's so stupid. I had it on mute like an idiot. I did say hi to everybody, and I was trying to answer and catch up to comments. That's what I was trying to say when I muted. So I was zoomed in to Rupus Recta, these sinuous rill formations, and just want to talk a little bit about it and answer the questions. Also say hi to Cyber Sully, right? Hi. And Sonic Jet, right? Let me know if I missed anybody. And Vicky, you have a wonderful night, like I said. Sonic Jet says, isn't it amazing we are on another planet watching the moon? I wonder who's watching us. Maybe some space aliens interested in humans. Yeah, I still think, like, it's interesting, the whole alien thing. There's a whole separate thread about that, but I feel like I've gotten to a place where aliens are really interesting, extraterrestrials, but I want to be impressed with the moon fundamentally. Like saying that, like, for some reason there's this kind of need to have an extra thing, like a conspiracy or an extraterrestrial attached to space in order for space to be sexy, let's say. But I think that for me, it's amazing to just know that there's a moon at all and how it was formed and just all the details about the surface, lunar geology, the distance, the history of it, how it grew, where it came from. All of that is, I think, more fundamentally interesting to me now than the idea of extraterrestrials visiting Earth or even extraterrestrials on the moon, however romantic it sounds. So it definitely could be the case that other people or other civilizations are watching us in return. But right now what we can really see is just like this unbelievable other planet, sister planet, and the sun, of course, but the moon just like is an absolutely extraordinary situation that we find ourselves in. And I just want to get back to the roots of that. Lumberjack says, if that's the case, this is what I was responding to earlier, if that's the case in regards to electric arcing moving across the surface to create these features, then why don't we see more electric arcs? The moon should always look different, right? Still, it's always cool to see the moon close up. So yeah, for me, I think if I were to just riff on that, ponder on that, I'd say that like there was probably a period of activity on the moon when the moon was still either moving faster or was birthed or was still like hotter than it is now and had more spin, more oscillation. and or Mars or Earth were closer and they still hadn't settled into orbit. So I would imagine there was a heightened period of electrical arcing happening on the moon at a certain time. And whether or not it was 3 billion years ago or 10, 20,000, 100,000 years, it's not like I don't care about that. I think it is important to think about that, but it's more so, was it hit by, millions of meteorites and asteroids 3 billion years ago? Or was there a period where the moon, a porous, kind of spongy rock, was actually carved by electric arc between it and Mars, or when it reconnected with Earth? And that's a fundamental difference in understanding the moon, lunar geology in general, interaction between planets, etc. So finally got that out. Robert Guy, what's happening? Been out here looking through my rig right along with you the whole time. Heck yeah, clouds rolling in right now. See you later. All right. The other night, actually, was so funny when I said, oh, I'm not taking the chance it's going to rain. I literally put away the scope and it started raining 2 seconds after I finished the stream. It's crazy. Hey Shaded, what's happening? Says, I really appreciate this channel. I really appreciate that comment. And you, thanks for stopping in. Haven't seen you before, but welcome. JBHD says the AI is watching us. That is definitely true. The AI is watching us, but I feel like AI is really just another life form, another like a silicon-based, elemental, grid-like, more efficient life form on Earth, and I think it's natural, actually. Y'all, are you seeing how detailed this is right here? It's just absolutely incredible seeing the moon. Never ceases to amaze me. Hundreds and hundreds of shows. I can't even believe how many shows I've actually done with y'all. Some of you have been almost at every single one of them, so I very much appreciate it. Y'all are talking about how you found this channel. A lot of you found me through Crow, and I appreciate that very much. Crow's cool. We don't agree about everything, but he's definitely done his homework, and I appreciate all the people who came through via that. There was the Venus transit, and then the lunar wave phenomenon stuff. So it's funny. It's fun to. That was like 5 years ago now. It's crazy. I remember 7, 8 years ago when I first saw Crow's channel and saw that he had this amazing Meade telescope and he was taking proper camera footage. I was like, man, I need to do that. And shout outs to OG Bob. Wait, is it Bob? No, Billy. Gosh, I feel terrible now. Who was the original Moon channel? Copper, help me. Wasn't it Billy? It was Billy something. He's like, we're live on the moon. And he really thought there were extraterrestrials. I feel like he may have passed away, unfortunately, but did Crow pass away? No. That's crazy if that happened. I mentioned it the other night, but I haven't been down the rabbit holes on YouTube for quite a few years. I just really check on a couple of channels, and then I've been really just formulating my own ideas. Oh, Bill, right. The Bill. Yeah, it was Billy. But what was the last name? I forget. Cyber, curious to take on Moon's gender. Well, it's interesting because I kind of use it more so than anything, and sometimes her, because the moon is like referred to in some of the ancient writings as female, but I feel like in the universal spectrum of things, there are all sorts of different variations of frequency and gender. Who knows really which exactly it is, but I think it's a magnetic kind of shift back and forth of the fluidity of magnetism and sexuality, probably. But the moon, I think of, I guess I have anthropomorphized the moon as a she to some degree, but more so as a celestial she, I guess, because it. But I'm not sure. You know, some people think of God as a he or she, but really to me it's all of it, because space is everything, and then the resonance in it is moving and fluid. So, Bill Bryson, thank you, Vicky. Gosh, I feel like lately I've been totally spaced on some of the older names. I think like you really just have to keep things close mind, front of brain, close plasma bubble to really keep remembering all these names. But I feel bad I forgot about Bill Bryson. Bill Bryson and Crow got me into saying that, like, oh man, I could definitely get this telescope thing going, because you really don't think you can. It's always if you look at other channels, or at least channels from the time, stuff was really primitive, and the big telescope guys don't really do much. So yeah, shout outs to Bill, wherever you are in the ether sphere. And we're live on the moon. Exactly. He had this webcam and a Nexstar 8 and did shots like, I mean, this is really a Nexstar 8 with a Sony, but this is close to what Bill used to do. But man, he was just such an energy and life force. And I watched all of his videos and I was like, I'm going to do this. So thanks to him. D-Stew, what's happening? Welcome. How amazing are these features right now? The moon is getting a little lower on the sky, and you guys can see, guys and gals and everyone can see all these beautiful hexagons and striations, sinuous rilles, almost like melting into the surface of the moon. And to me, like, it's so organized. You have all these diamonds and specific carved shapes, and whether or not it was impact related, it's so interesting to talk about and think about and consider why these shapes occurred, and just it's a great relevant discussion. You know what I mean? Because if you go online and check up science stuff or moon stuff, it tends to be so boring, and people just are like, oh yeah, you know, been there, done that, big deal. Or it's this kind of weird thing where it's like, scientists have discovered some crap that you can't confirm on the southern poles or the north poles of the moon that you can't film from Earth and corroborate, and we're going to do some stuff there. I don't know. I feel like the moon is treated so ambivalently, but then when they need some drama, when the media needs some drama, they're like, all right, let's pump up the drama on the moon. We're going to nuke it, and it rang like a bell, and there were extraterrestrials, and we're going to send a satellite crashing into the moon, and been there, done that. And I'm like, it's exhausting, this ad hoc media kind of story of the moon, when you're looking at it right here, and it's profound, it's astounding, it's all these just incredible structures, and also the fact that it's another planet in a way. It's just like looking at another planet this close it does boggle the mind, even though we're doing it. Let's see. Hell yeah, D-Stew, you're most welcome. Mary says, are there more craters than lately? It's hard to tell if there are really small ones. Apparently that's it. There are micrometeorites that hit the surface of the moon constantly. So, that's the supposed science. But in terms of the large main hexagonal features like you're seeing here, these to me seem like day one till now they've been exactly the same. But it really depends. We've seen things at different phases, and so the shadows and the light on the moon change every time. So right here, looking at the Apennine mountain range and Mare Imbrium, is just gorgeous. Like every time it kind of feels a little bit different. So I would say it's very possible that there are new features, but I don't know if we're seeing any larger features emerge in our lifetime. Vicky says, he was so great. I loved watching him. Me too. We all get through this life at some point. Mary. Sonic Jet, can we also see Jupiter, Mars, or Venus up close? Sonic, so if you jump back to yesterday's video, I had shots of Jupiter and Saturn and Venus. Mars is actually not in view for me right now. And right now Jupiter is already set tonight, so no Jupes. But earlier I opened the show with a little bit of Jupiter. Tomorrow or the day after when I'm live again, we'll start with some Saturn and Jupiter, if it's clear. Leo Boira. Unfortunately, I don't know English. I would love to know what this real scientist is talking about. Well, thank you. If that translated correctly, I'm just an amateur scientist. But what I'm talking about is the electric universe, the connected universe, electricity, carving the surface of planets and Earth, human memory and consciousness outside the human body in shells, almost like an atomic shell structure, and the intrinsic geometry of the toroidal field and the hypertrochoid or the hourglass shape that is pervasive through every level of reality, from the very small to the very large, among other things. Yeah, so let's play a few tunes, keep the vibes going high. Shout outs to Bill Bryson and Crow and everybody who got me into, actually I want to highlight just a few people. Halton ARP gets very little love nowadays, but Halton ARP, Halton ARP, or Chip ARP, died a while, about 10 years ago, maybe a little more. But he was really a preeminent scientist, astronomer of our age, of the last 50 years, and if you want to really see a scientist talk and give a lecture on astronomy, check out Halton ARP. There are only a few videos of him, but he's the one who actually came up with this idea that redshift is not really a measure of distance in space, but rather a measure of age or youth in galaxies, in galaxy formation, and redshift over time goes from red to blue as the galaxies cool off after their birth along the spiral arms of larger galaxies. And that's fundamentally massive. It's like, if that's I think it's true, but if that were the case, then you'd really have to upend a whole bunch of contemporary cosmology and astronomy to reinterpret redshift as a youth variable versus a distance variable. And then you'd have to really question as to whether there is an expanding universe, or at what rate the universe is expanding, or where things are in space, because we use redshift primarily to determine, a combination of redshift and standard candles and Doppler imaging, radar imaging, to figure out where things are. But it's a huge upending of things if redshift is not exactly correct. All right, tunage. Time for the tunage. I'll try and find some stuff I have not played yet tonight. And then we'll do some more moon tourigens. Scroll. Y'all, I am so appreciative of the kind words about the music. Can't tell you, it's just such a pleasure to share it with everyone and to get feedback and to create a vibe with it. So I never take it for granted. All right, here's something old. Alright, y'all. So, I'll start wrapping it up here. Been on for quite a while. Feeling good though, but I'm gonna go relax my back because I'm starting to get strained here, sitting for hours. Absolutely magnificent shot right here, if I may say, of the Orion Nebula. I'm gonna get it even tighter for us, but it's really lucky that the moon is setting and Orion is just in view. Jedi Princess, you called it. Want to say hi to Daniel and whoever else is joining, Leo. Mary quite a couple of months ago. I woke up around 5:30 a.m. and looking out my south-facing window, I saw a string of stars. Had no idea what it was. Had to look it up on YouTube. Was it Orion or was it the Pleiades? M42 looking sexy. Morgan Ellis. Awesome, y'all. Really good, really fun night tonight. I'm always so filled with joy and appreciation for doing this and everybody's feedback and comments. Really, I know it's corny, but whatever. That's how it is. Getting to talk about all these amazing principles and concepts. For me, looking at this, you can already see that kind of angle at the bottom of Orion. There's our diamond right there. And I feel like maybe, possibly, we are looking at, a cross-section of a Birkeland filament, the trapezium 4-star cluster. When I zoom in, we'll take a look and you'll see, to me, that looks like it's gruesome, but if you chop a limb on a creature, you'll see it's a kind of cross-section of nerves and bone and flesh, and we're seeing that from the side on a nebula. It's absolutely crazy. Let me adjust these settings here to see how much nebula we can see. Brighten it up a bit. It's pretty spectacular, gotta say. And you can see here. Let me sketch a little on top of it, and then we'll take some still photos so you can see even more nebular. Oh, it was a string of satellites, Mary. Yeah, that's starting to get annoying with the amount of satellites and these kind of chains of satellites, like the Atlas stuff, right? Is it Atlas? What is the Elon thing called? Thanks, NGC. I appreciate that. How you doing? How's everybody feeling? Thanks for sticking with me for so long tonight. This is the first three? Yeah, it's about a 3-hour stream for the first time in a long time. Let me sketch this damn thing. Alright, so part of the hypotrochoid, but I feel like also Orion is a bit at an angle, so we're kind of seeing the inertial plane curve that way. And there's kind of a diamond shape there. And then the trapezium cluster is like a nested diamond. And really what happens is it actually branches out like that. And this is your Birkeland filament. Alright, and this is your spiral. Let me lower myself. Expanding spiral, oscillator, and I think it's kind of doing this sort of thing, where like it's kind of curving towards us so we see this cross section. I'm just riffing here. This is how I visualize it. To me, everything along a Birkeland filament, like lymph nodes on nerves in our arteries and our veins. If you look at your hand and you look at these two lines that I drew, you'll see that your hand has these exact shapes baked into your... Look at your right hand with thumb up and fingers pointed to the left, and you'll see these two lines I just drew, which is the hypotrochoid, or the hourglass figure between two, outlining the field around this oscillator, Orion oscillator. Oscillator, see you later. Oh, Starlink, right, thank you. Cybercelly says, all your efforts are greatly... Thank you so much, I really appreciate that. The Witch's Broom Nebula looks like that sketch. Yep, it does. I mean, they all do. What's interesting, like especially even on the moon, there are kind of layered versions of these, right? So sometimes it's not exactly perfect, but there are more than enough, like Sea of Serenity, Sea of Tranquility, Mare Crisium, and Sea of Tranquility, like side by side. They're so cleanly a pentagon and a hexagon side by side with the hourglass, and the and Orion right here also has very, very distinct signs that shapes that remind me and reminisce of this this intrinsic geometry. So I would imagine that pretty much every object in the universe at some point kind of is a version of this in 3D. Whoa, whoa. To the vagus nerve, yeah. I'm not really great with anatomy, but I just imagine, you know, like the human body and creatures grow in like in layers and orbits, right? So the center, I can barely speak at this point, but like bone marrow, right? The hollow bones, and then bones grow outwards as kind of porous type rock or porous bone, and then outside that you have layers of muscles and skin and and then the epidermis and dermis, and the skin has its own kind of subset of layers, and these are essentially dense plasma layers of organized matter. And then as it gets further and further out towards the thinnest part of your skin that interacts with the air, the ether around us, things are lighter and thinner and less dense, and therefore vibrating less so than our inner core, our string of chakras. Little baked, but yeah, 3 hours of talking all this stuff. I'm pretty impressed with myself. Oh man, so cool. Love to do this. Happy Saturday night, everybody. Let's play a couple more tunes, and I'm going to take some single snapshots of Orion, see how much nebula we can get here. Pulling up something old, something fun. Les mystères, les mystères. Was this something? No, maybe this. Maybe this.
Endless perplex inside me. Only one memory of your heart. Endless perfect. There's only one memory of
good people. Thank you so much. Gonna wrap it up here. I have Orion drift off. Some really nice still shots tonight. When I zoomed in, you could see the trapezium cluster that looks like 4 stars together in the center, and one of them's a double star. So the whole cloud structure even, I think, radiates outwards. The different colors are different frequency resonances. And really, this is like a magnificent representation of oscillation and plasma cosmology in the universe. Just look at that shot that was just there and kind of imagine all these different shapes around it. But then you can draw all the shapes. And you realize that, like, we can really actually see the invisible if we wanted to. It's not over our heads, so to speak. Alright, tonight was fun. Thanks so much, Fantasy and Cyber, Sully, and Mary Quite, and Ellie Wynn, Jedi Princess, NGC, Hot Rod Scott. I'm going to try and get everybody. Leo, and Andy, and I know Aisling was here, and D-Stew, Arum Vorax, Sonic Jet, Rockstar, Copper Trops, Vicky, I say Ellie Wynn, Hey Shaded, Genghis Khan. That's all I got. Can't scroll up anymore, but if I missed you, I still appreciate you. Leave me a comment on this video. Let me know if you have any topics you want me to discuss on the next show. Try and be back again tomorrow or the day after. Definitely put it on your calendars for the full moon and live music. And yeah, stay safe, stay wise. Till our next journey together, everyone. Bonne nuit.